All right, guys, we got another good one from Cody here. Cody's asking, he says, what is a good way to mark up a part and labor for a job? And I tell you what, I would love to hear your guys' comments. Love. I mean, even if you think it's just like, nah, I'm not even gonna write nothing, I would love to hear your comments, because to this day, out of darn near 20 years doing this, I still struggle with this. I've never found a proven, just absolute, this is how you always do it. But I'm gonna go through some of the things, how I do it. So he also put on there asking about the new door or motor. I think I wanna make another separate video on this. He said something, usually I had a range of what I see from Home Advisor. That's a good little tip. I don't know what he quite means 100% by that, but I don't know if you can kind of go on there and see, which would make sense to me. You can go on there and see other, what the general price is, you know what I mean, is what I'm guessing. So that's actually a good idea. So, all right, where do we go? Let's start into this. Anyways, Dave here with Affordable Door and Gate. You guys ready? I'm ready. I'm pumped today. It's raining out, my jacket's all wet. I know my limit, so I wanted to come in and make a video for you guys. So, first to start off, I gotta get my stuff. Well, let's go over this calculator. First of all, this was always a game changer to me. And it's not just because it's a regular calculator. It's because, I wanna make sure you can see this, it has this. Get a calculator that has the margin. That is a big, 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 big thing right there, that margin. So, I think this thing might have got wet. 100, nope. So what we do on this, what I like to do is we're gonna do 100. And we're gonna do, that's my cost. Let's say we wanna do a 30%, and then we hit margin. It comes up, see how it comes up with that different number? It's not quite what you think it would be. And I honestly, there's a difference. I've read on it before. I've sat at nighttime watching videos and everything, but there's a difference between margin and doing a percentage. Margin is more forgiving. The problem is when you do percentages, and I am not an expert in this by any means, and that's why if you got any input, please put it below, because I guarantee you're smarter than me when it comes to this stuff. But when you do percentages, it gets out of control. And so for instance, we used to have these books. I used to have this book because I didn't know how to do it. And this is an old book. I mean, this is an old LiftMaster, 2000, this has got 2011 on it, nuts. But anyways, I used to put on the back here, this is how I used to put it. Let's make sure you guys can kind of see this right there. But I had a range, anything from $100 this, I times it by 2. You know, 500 to this, I did 1.3, because the thing is what you guys probably know if you've been in the business, is that when you get into what I always looked at is like a garage door, right? Let's say the garage door costs $5,000. Well, if you do the percentage on it, and you do your same percentage and go, well, I always times it by 2, I always double it. It normally gets to be so astronomical that you won't ever get the job. I mean, your numbers, because the way I've always looked at it, I believe that you should make more money, but also it needs to be with, you know, it needs to be in a range, because a garage door is a garage door. I mean, it might be a little heavier, it might have more risk because you could damage it of some sort, and so there's these equations in there, but regardless, it's still a garage door. It's panels, it's hinges, it's spring, it's your labor is going to kind of stay the same roughly. You might have to add a couple $100 here or there, but not $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000. The number gets to be astronomical. So that's why I like using the margin. A lot of times I would always figure out sometimes what it's kind of worth, you know, and a lot of it sometimes comes down to, in a nutshell, how hungry you are. You know, if you're hungry and you want work, then obviously sometimes you got to be kind of the cheap Joe, you know what I mean? But otherwise, just kind of a rule of thumb, which I've always kind of banked on sometimes, was that with your standard stuff, sometimes you can double it. I always remember a guy in the lumber industry always told me, he says, if you want to do a package for whatever it is, home build, this or that, he says, you just take the material and you double it. And it is funny when you do these numbers all the time, how you find a correlation, because I normally check things 3 times, and you see a correlation that obviously when material goes up, your labor kind of goes up too, because either it's weird how we're all kind of interconnected, but either your labor goes up with your employees, or you have to bring more workers in, or all these things. So there's so many variables in it. And also you have to consider, I always like to get my base. That's always so what I always do is I like to always get, and I'm talking, this is kind of more bigger jobs, Cody, not for residential, but like with bigger jobs, I typically always like to get my cost. So I always look at it, I go, how far away is it from the shop? How many trips am I going to have to make? How many days is it going to take? And I write all that stuff down, and I go, okay, if I'm paying my guys basically their cost, this is my number. And I always like to have that for backup. So if I have a builder or somebody comes back and they go, your numbers are too high, could you do it for this? I always have that number to go off and go, there is absolutely no way, because I will lose money, because obviously the cost of materials, I can't change. And the labor is the labor. So I have that certain number, and then I'll normally do a percentage off that. Sometimes it's 10%, 20, 30, depending on like bigger jobs like fence, maybe it's like 40, you know what I mean? And that's on the margin side of it. So it just depends. And we kind of fluctuate depending on like kind of in a nutshell for us with residential. We're not the cheapest by any means, but a lot of people, and the good thing for us is we have this huge loyal base of customers, and people know us, and we're established, and we got the building and we got all these things that it's, if I could go back, I would change the name of the business. But basically, you're going to get what you pay for. We got the vehicles, we got the insurance, we got the guys, we show up, we take care of the problems. I mean, like free of charge, basically. So if something was our fault, or it's even the product fault. We had a guy recently, or a customer, I just heard this from one of the texts. I don't know, maybe you guys know about the Genies, but I forget what model it was. It was a newer Genie, probably the 2028, I think, model is one of them. The technician installed 3 of them, and basically could not get them to work. And they ended up bringing a LiftMaster, and the LiftMaster worked. There was something going on with the voltage. I don't know what, but the LiftMaster would work. 3 brand new Genies out of the box would not work. But we took them back to the shop. They worked just fine. Weird, just weird. But that's also why we kind of we don't push for residential, because residential is just such a different, it's so time consuming. It is just so time consuming. So, another thing you can always do if you want to check on things is call around and see what your competition's charging. That's something you can always do. But you eventually at some point, you're going to build up this, with age and wisdom and everything, is you're going to build up this point where you're going to go, I know what I'm worth. And I can tell you what, it's a great feeling when you get there. When you're struggling and you're desperate and you're always trying to work, and it's super hard. I've been there. I know the feeling. I still put a lot of hours in for certain things, and I've been there with the garage door business, so that it can eat you alive. It really can. It can be you can start building this. It's almost like a tornado starting, right? It starts out small, and then it gets bigger and bigger, and then it turns into this vortex that just keeps pulling you in, and eventually, before you know it, you're so consumed that there's like so much work out there, but yet how much headache do you want? So with the pricing, and if you once you get a base price, I'll show you. This is a book we used to carry. This is obviously back when I had my F-250. These are what I used to call our Bibles in the trucks. But we used to have prices in here. And so, like you can see, this thing's just full because it's old. But, these are old prices and stuff. We had them all marked out, so it was real easy to be with a customer. Another little trick I've done was my vendor / now secretary, I would actually, I would call her and I would ask her a price. And I remember when I was standing in front of the customer, it was hard, right? Because I didn't want them to hear the price. So I remember I would tell them, I would always say $100. This was years ago. Now you might want to do $200. But whatever number she gave back to me, I would always I'd repeat it. I go, oh, okay. I go, so, she'd say it's $1,200. I go, okay, so it's $1,300. Okay. And she might correct me, or she finally kind of learned that that's what I was doing. And I was like, okay, well, cool. Thank you. I'll call you, let you know if I want to get that in order. And so that, tell the customer, I'd say, okay, so it's whatever, $1,300 for your door, which I already added $100 on. And then I would say, now the labor is going to be, you know, whatever you want to charge. You want to charge 300. I mean, what we used to get paid, what, 218, I think it was. Is what sticks in my head. 218 is what we used to get paid through Lowe's. So I always knew, I was like, if you go to Lowe's, that's what you're gonna pay. Plus I'm making an extra $100. So you just start figuring out, the best thing to do too is just write up your generic stuff. You know, this is what I charge for torsion springs. And you gotta realize that you're gonna lose some. You are. And I'm telling you what, some of the people that you lose, it's like good riddance. Because I'm telling you, those cheap people are like, they're the most nitpicky. They're the ones that, oh, I don't have my credit card today. I mean, it's like they're in a total different world, and it's like you want the person that's just like, you know, you tell them a price and they go, okay, and they go, and then the bad part is when you do residential, especially if it's like broken springs, it's like, how fast can you get here? Because then we turn into tow truck drivers, right? You know, if you tell them it's going to be 2 days, well, I'll just call somebody else. And that's a lot of reasons sometimes I don't like the residential, because sometimes it turns into how fast can you get here, and you turn into somebody's puppet. And I don't like that. Where a lot of my commercial guys, we all work together and they'll take care of it. I'll get the door down, but can you come tomorrow morning? Yes, perfect. Thank you. You know what I mean? And it's just a different level. So anyways, I hope that's helpful, Cody. I'm gonna go on to that home advisor. I'm gonna make another video on that here soon. So stay tuned, subscribe, click that like button if you made it this far. Like I said, comment below. If you guys are doing something for pricing, anything to help Cody or myself, please comment below, because I still struggle to this day with it, and it turns into a lot of time. And it's hard though, because everything is different, right? Every vendor's different in pricing and stuff and structures. And then nowadays you can't even get a price book because prices are changing daily, it seems like. So anyways, take care, you guys. We'll see you in the next one.